All right, we're up. This is the Our Town, North Alabama's podcast with Troy By. Full house today. I want to introduce, I'm going to just call you Coach if you don't mind.
No problem, I'll take that.
As a retired athlete of many years, if you come across someone who's a coach, I just can't not help it just call you Coach, even if your name is Jack Collison.
No, we love it. I love that part of the American culture. It's great hearing the boys say Coach, so all good with me.
What do they refer to you over like in Europe?
Yeah, they don't use it as much.
Really?
Yeah.
Just first name?
And a few choice words behind my back, I'm very sure, so.
It's kind of like that aunt or uncle.
Yeah.
I have certain aunts and uncles that, actually none of my aunts and uncles, I just call them by their first name. But my wife's side of the family is different. Aunt, uncle, they put the title in there. So it's just, I guess every family's different that way, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So Jack Collison is the head coach. This is going to be the second season of the HCFC. We've talked a lot about the HCFC on this program. Originally, you know Chad. Chad was on this program when he was the CEO of Downtown Huntsville, which was like my episode 8, long time ago. And then he came back after he got the new job, and I had him on. I don't know, it was like episode 58, 59, something like that. So, and then I want to also introduce Mike Parker, who's the head coach of the Bob Jones football team.
And season ticket holder for HCFC.
Oh, fantastic.
Do you prefer, now that you're here in the States, do you still prefer football or you like soccer? I mean, let's keep that to, I want to use the terminology that's comfortable for you as we move through this.
I think because we're HCFC, I think it makes sense for football. I'm very much a purist, I suppose, from back home. But no, the soccer's great. My own soccer school is actually called Jack Collison Soccer School. So a bit of both is fine with me. So
Was that to appeal to the Americans?
it was actually set up in England about 8 years ago, so I thought it just had a better ring to it. So works well now we're out here as well.
Yeah. Well, I like that. Well, I mean, you're the only football team in town then. We don't have an American football team in town.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Big news coming yesterday. Actually, 2 big bombs, right? I mean, Nick Saban's out he retires as the coach of the Tide, and then Belichick is gone from the Patriots. I mean, 2 very unlikely things in American sports that any of us eventually it's going to come to an end. But you're like, holy smokes, what a run for both of them.
Yeah, no, and credit, to be honest, I'm still trying to pick my team, I'll be honest with you. I've obviously living in Atlanta, a lot of Dogs fans around there, so
yeah,
kind of got behind them, but I've been kind of turning more Alabama recently, and obviously went and spent some time watching the game the other weekend. Difficult day, obviously, but no, I really enjoy it. I love it, and got a chance to go see the Falcons a few times, but unfortunately they were awful. So, big Pat Mahomes fans, and one of my best friends is from Kansas. So obviously, I suppose behind the Chiefs a little bit in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get to a Georgia game then?
I never been to a Georgia game, but as I said, got to see the Falcons a few times.
Yeah.
Never got to see them win, I don't think, but who knows? Hopefully they'll be a little bit better this year. Next year.
Remember that Super Bowl when they got embarrassed by Tom Brady? That was bad. The whole ownership's down on the sideline with 7 minutes to go.
Poor Arthur. He was great. He was great for Atlanta United, obviously spending 3 years there myself, so got to know Arthur a little bit, and I mean, what he does for that city is just incredible. So it would have been great for him to obviously wrap it up with a nice Super Bowl win, and just unfortunately fell away towards the end, didn't they?
It's funny how things work out in life where I'm kind of originally from Northern Virginia, and then I moved down here after being up there forever. My sister kind of moved around the U.S., ends up in Atlanta, and we're here. And now immediately, it's just that automatic. They're assuming we're Tide fans and they're Georgia fans, and it's like, how did we go all this time in life without contention in sports, and now all of a sudden there's this contention, Because I don't want Georgia to win, right? If I live in Alabama,
no.
Nah, and it's great for me to give some friends back in Atlanta some stick as well, and a bit of abuse when they lose. So
yeah,
it's always good.
So exciting times, man. Again, there's so many things we could tackle. I'm jealous at any time somebody gets to be a part of something new and something exciting. So it's one thing just to come in and be a new coach, but now you're like a new coach of a brand new team coming into last season, right? And part of the reason I wanted Coach Parker here is I played some football growing up.
Love that.
but not enough. And it's just, it's not, it's no disrespect. It's just you end up doing what your friends do. And if your friends are playing American football or they're playing baseball or basketball, it's just kind of what you do, right? I think I got pissed off because my first 2 years of American football, I'm sorry, soccer, real football, I was a great, I scored a lot of goals.
Yeah.
My first goal was a header. And then I moved to Virginia and I never played. So I think I was just disappointed. Like, I'm a star. Yeah, I was a really good player. And now I've been sidelined, so I'm out. And then I just never played again. So I definitely wanted Coach here. He's a season ticket holder. So he's been in all the matches, and I'm certainly excited having talked to Chad and just seeing his energy and what he's got going on. But, for the most part, how's this last year been for you? Bit of a whirlwind still?
Yeah, a little bit of a whirlwind. I mean, it was great coming down actually and spending some time with Chad, probably October time in 2022, where the stadium's still a building site, and just coming down and hearing him talk about the vision and the community and how he feels people will get behind the team and that. And then slowly over the months, you see the stadium growing. I was driving past it every day on the way to training, and then it's getting closer and closer. And obviously a difficult start for us last year, having the first 7 games on the road.
Yeah.
But I mean, that home opener against Crown Legacy was just an incredible night, incredible evening. Obviously great to get our first win of the season. And then I think what we witnessed throughout the rest of the year, at times it was phenomenal. Fast-paced, a lot of action, a lot of goals, which is the brand and style of football we want to bring to the city and the community. And just fell short towards the end. But in terms of building a foundation and laying down some roots, and starting to put together pieces of something that we can all be really proud of, we think it was a really good first year. And obviously going into year 2, the expectations have risen a little bit. We learnt a lot of lessons last year and on and off the field, and thankfully we've had an incredible off-season in terms of bringing in new players. We've got a new coaching team as well, so just full of excitement going into that beautiful stadium over there, over at the Joe, and hopefully continuing to grow and get better and put in a successful season this year.
Did you have any sense of the history of that refurbished stadium before?
Yeah, Chad's Mr. Huntsville, isn't he? So he gave me the rundown of the entire city and what to expect. But I remember coming down, he said, look, the community will really get behind the group, and you could see it and you could feel it even in the early games when we're on the road. We're getting sent videos from the watch parties and some of the events we did at the local coffee shops and that, and walking around, people want to talk about it. And then I think you could feel at the home games just the energy. I don't know how you guys felt, but certainly being down at field level, you can feel the energy. You can see how much everyone adores the team. And even at times when we weren't great, to feel that love and support, I think was a real good thing for the boys to have, because realistically, a large percentage of them are young players at the start of their journey, and obviously they've got big aspirations to go on to bigger and better. But what a great foundation and a great opportunity for them to sort of feel that little bit of pressure to play in front of a expectant, adoring crowd, and obviously to play in some really competitive matches as well. So really pleased with a lot of stuff in the first year. And as I said, we're calling it Huntsville 2.0 for next season, and hopefully you'll see some improvements and we'll get to where we need to get to.
So, Coach Parker, for you as an individual, can you talk a little about the excitement you were feeling, and then also now as the coach of a high school team, luckily, or I would say likely all football players in the area are excited to finally have a team here, right, to cheer for. What was it like for you and your team?
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was really great because, one, you feel close to the pitch, right, which is always a great feeling. The closer to the pitch, you feel like you're in the game, part of the game. And as coaches, what we loved is we could go down on the first few rows and be able to hear some of the things you were saying, right? And some ways it was great because I could look at the high school boys and go, see, I told you, this is coaching, right? They get an earful and they get dressed down sometimes right down on the field, but you also showed that you gave positive feedback and told them when they were doing some great things, or like, yeah, that's what we worked on in training. And I had the opportunity sometimes to come see y'all train, and then I could watch how that played out into your match strategy and what y'all were trying to accomplish. But there was also times where you could see where, okay, coach still wants them to follow up on some of these things we talked about, and it was great to see that. But from the fan experience, the probably 10-foot wide concourse that they built where people can mingle and talk and still watch the game. It was kind of like your own version of standing room only that goes all the way around the pitch, and you can see the people gathering there. And then for us high school coaches, a lot of us are really good friends. I'm friends with Yele from Huntsville, Luke Oakley with the girls' side for us. A lot of the people that also want to get to know you and everything. We would watch our high school players intermingle from the high schools watching the game together because, when they're done playing for the high school season, they play club and they play together in their club. So there is the school rivalry and then there's the club togetherness part that comes with it. And I think just having that whole experience of the younger generations getting to now have someone local that they can look up to is going to be a great experience for you and for them moving forward.
Yeah, do you know what? It's actually funny mentioning the fan experience because I've been with my wife 12, 13 years, and obviously back when I was playing, she used to come to the games and that, but she enjoys coming to the Huntsville games more than she would going to a Premier League game or anything like that.
Really?
For the sheer fact that she can let the kids run right on the bit behind the goal. As you said, you can walk around, it's very friendly, and everyone's just there to have a good time and enjoy it, and hopefully they get to see a couple of goals and a good performance from the boys to go with it.
I mean, that's kind of an interesting comparison. I think a lot of people will say, well, I really like college football, not like NFL, because it means more or something. So is Premier League kind of the same thing at the pro level? It just doesn't carry the same fascination for the majority of fans like coming to an MLS Next Pro game?
I think so. I mean, look, there's obviously the bonus of going to watch some of the best players in the world.
Sure.
And obviously things like that. But for someone who doesn't really appreciate football, she's more there for the experience and to see friends, speak to friends, and obviously now she comes to support me and the team as well. But
yeah,
I mean, for her with two young kids to go somewhere and feel safe and like she can have a good time, and as you said, there's that local community, there's a lot of good relationships there, so to be able to mingle and enjoy the game. And to be honest, she probably doesn't watch much of the football. I don't think she knows what's going on, but it's great for me because obviously I don't have to go and talk to her about the game in depth and detail, especially when it's been a tough night. But I think that part of the community and I suppose trying to be inclusive of everyone, we've made a real conscious effort as a group to try and include people, to have an open door policy. If people want to come watch us train, we're always open to that. If people want to come and meet the players, and we've made a real conscious effort as a group to kind of be that team that kind of do that. So when the guys ask coming to support, or you're looking at an Ollie Wright who they've seen training or things like that, they can hopefully build a stronger bond. And I think we really felt that in terms of by trying to give a little bit more, we got extra support. And as I said, I keep saying it, that energy that you can feel inside the Joe is really special.
Let's talk a little bit about, like, kind of start at the top with Nashville and kind of moving our way down. But, here's a guy, if you're not familiar with Coach Jack Collison, right? You played for West Ham in the Premier League, right? You've played against the best, you name it, Arsenal, Man U, on and on, Tottenham. I'll have to tell you a Tottenham story later.
I love that.
But this is a professional athlete, and it's no secret the best soccer players, football players in the world they're not really from the U.S., right? They're from somewhere else. So, and then maybe where American football it's making inroads across the globe. You transfer those athletes, those former coaches, owners, whatever, over there. Can you give a high level, a little bit of the kind of your management structure? Did you know them in your time in the Premier League, or you turned pro, I think, when you were 19, right? Even though you had already been kind of in the system for quite a number of years before that. But Can you just talk a little bit about some of those associations that you either rekindled or established in this process of taking this job?
Yeah, I think for me, the benefit of being a player, I got to work with some incredible coaches. And someone once said to me, football coaches, probably coaches in general, are the best thieves. You see something you like and you take it and kind of try and put your own spin on it. And being a player at that level, I got to play under some incredible people. Sam Allardyce, his attention to detail was incredible. Eddie Howe is doing a great job at Newcastle now. Just his training sessions were so intense but so fun. Gianfranco Zola was probably one of the greatest players to ever play in the Premier League, but how humble and what a family man, and how he made you feel was just just really special. So getting all these experiences, and then unfortunately I had to retire at 26, but realistically by about 23 I was finished. My knee is completely shot and I was struggling, and
Just ACL?
no, I dislocated my kneecap. No cartilage, bone on bone. So every time I played, my knee blew up. But I'd say from 23 to 26, I spent a lot of that time going around the world, seeing the best people, trying out absolutely everything to get back playing. But then when I could kind of draw a line under it and put it to bed, I'd say I come to a bit of a crossroads, whether I hated the game because it had taken everything away from me, or whether I'm going to use that kind of adversity to try and spur me on to stay in it and try and be the best coach I can be. And it's kind of that, I would say, adversity and having to deal with that so young is what really drives me still now, and that passion and fire. Sometimes it comes out on the touchline, sometimes it might be a bit too over the top, but just in terms for me, that moment in my career is what drives me to try and be a really good coach. And as I said, thankful for them experiences as a player, because even within that short period I experienced relegation, promotion, injury, playing in some incredibly tense matches, being a young up and coming player, being in the team, out the team. And I think them experiences as a player are what I lean into heavily now as a coach. And obviously I'm in a very blessed position with some incredibly talented guys, bags of potential, and it's just trying to pull that potential into consistent performances, and hopefully we can see a few more up at Nashville this year, because for them, obviously we want to be successful in Huntsville, we want to win a lot, but ultimately to get 2 or 3 of these young lads playing regularly in Gary's team in the MLS is part of the job too. And I've been very fortunate in my coaching career as well to see some of these young kids going on and doing so well now. Obviously being at Atlanta, Caleb Wiley's a great example. Broke into the first team, he's played the past 2 seasons, and literally last week just called up into his first senior men's national team camp for the US. So now to get these different experiences is great, and obviously my job is now to help guide these boys and push them when I need to, give them an arm around the shoulder when I need to. And I'm sure Mike will tell you we get it wrong sometimes, but ultimately the intent and the passion and the drive to do the best we can do is always there.
Who recruited you? Like, so you won Footballer of the Year, Young Footballer of the Year in 2009, right? And unfortunate. You're actually. You don't mind? Can you just step through what happened on the play that you injured yourself? Was that in the game practice?
Yeah, it was quite ridiculous actually.
Really?
I blame Colton Cole. Our striker had just been sent off, and normally from a long kick I'd just try and flick it on or put it into an area, but we had no one to flick it onto, and goal kick, and I'm right by the touchline, and brought the ball down on my chest, and I go to run one way, and unfortunately my knee goes the complete other way. And I think at that time you feel invincible, like it's all right, I'll be back in a week or 2, and took a bit of a shortcut to try and get back playing, because I was playing week in, week out for the team, and playing for Wales regularly as well, and it just wasn't right. And I had a big operation, missed 14 months of playing, come back and managed to play for a couple more years. But it's just one of them things. These things happen and you see it all the time. But in terms of being a young player, having to go through that injury process and dealing with some tough moments, I think that's what is really going to help me as I go through my coaching journey now, to try and give some advice and maybe be a little bit understanding at times when players are struggling and maybe not performing to their full potential. So, yeah, a bit of a stupid moment for me. But these things happen, and thankfully I managed to get into my coaching journey probably 10 years earlier than I would have if I had a full career playing.
So then, obviously, people are aware of you. Jack. You win awards. You're on West Ham. This unfortunate thing happens. You kind of in and out of the game for a few years, right? And you said you start your coaching. Did you know? Is it Liam Doyle? Right? Is that your Nashville? How did you know Liam or the other people that are involved in Nashville, and what's the process of you saying, yeah, it's time for me? Well, I know you came to Atlanta first.
Yeah.
But was it? Let's start at the end of it, kind of ending your time in Atlanta. It's just a matter of, hey, I think I want to keep my roots here in the U.S. and there's this opportunity that opened up, or did you have a thought of going back over to England?
Yeah, I think for me, there's always that pull of potentially going back at some point. But I had 3.5 amazing years at Atlanta. Loved my time there, and I think I got to the point where I'd hit a bit of a ceiling. It was going to be tough to make the jump to the first team, I think, and obviously you're always aware of what's going on elsewhere in the US, and sort of seeing the project grow and grow and grow. And thankfully, I was put in touch with Mike Jacobs, the GM over at Nashville, and had some good conversations. And then I think the big thing for me was certainly coming down and spending some time with Chad and seeing Huntsville and seeing everything, all the foundations that were being built and put in place. And it was just something that really kind of captured my imagination. So obviously, when I was thankful enough to be offered the job, I jumped at the chance and really enjoyed the ride last year.
What'd you think, Mike? Were you aware, just as curiosity, of Jack at all before in his playing days and stuff?
I was not.
Okay.
No, after finding out that he was going to become, our coach, then absolutely quite a few of the coaches around here started doing the background, because no better way to get the players of our teams fired up to want to go see them play than to be able to talk about the credentials of the coach, and those matter.
Yeah.
And just as he was saying with his experience, when we do have to jump in their shin guards from the sidelines on some stuff, it holds merit because they know we have been in their moments. We have experienced that fight, flight, or freeze that some players get when the ball comes at their feet, or they're playing in a bigger level match. Once they got home and playing in front of the home crowd, that's different than playing in the away, right? Now you're representing the community and everything else. And so we've all really enjoyed and taken some things away from you as coaches, especially when we get to come see some of your sessions. You're absolutely right. The best form of flattery is to follow me, right? And so we definitely do. He's got a great staff over there who's also great talking to all the coaches when we show up. We get handshakes from the whole staff when we show up on those sidelines for the practices. I mean, and it's genuine. They don't stop their session, but when they find that break, they come over. And so I think all of those things play into their level of respect he got from his players, because you could see no matter whether he's praising them or having to correct them, their attitude and their demeanor back towards him shows from other people. They respect him, respect his thought process and his opinion, and they knew if he was jumping on them, there was good reason.
Okay.
I just hope none of them come and watch the men's league over at Merrimack or the indoor, because I'm useless now. But I still get out there and play. I love it.
Were you fast?
No. I could just run all day, up and down.
Endurance.
Do 12, 13K a game, some games.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was great at anything. Just fairly good at most things, and more of a team player. Give it to the good players kind of thing.
Yeah. When was that kind of first time in life where you knew you were, like, I might have a career in the Premier League? You're growing up, everyone's playing football over there. Were you did everybody know I know you were born in Waterford and you moved later, but was it kind of known, like, man, Jack is special?
Yeah, it's a great question, actually. I think 95% of kids over there now grow up and are born and they want to be football players.
Mm-hmm.
And I was that kid who was completely obsessed. I used to take a football to bed with me most nights and sleep in my new boots. And
what brand of football?
Oh, whatever I could get hold of.
Anything.
They were normally over the neighbour's fence or breaking his greenhouse. And thankfully for me, I had a dad who was equally as obsessed. So I used to go watch Chelsea a lot as a kid growing up. And then I signed for Peterborough United, who are not necessarily a big academy program, but they had a good history of bringing through players and selling them on. And I suppose whilst I was at Peterborough as a youngster, I had interest from a few Premier League clubs, like big clubs, Manchester United. I went and played with them for a bit. Tottenham, went down there a bit. And then I think my goal at the time was always to try and break into the first team young at a slightly smaller club and sort of go on from there. And unfortunately, Peterborough shut down their youth system when I was 13. So I joined Cambridge United, very similar to Peterborough, a smaller academy, but a real opportunity to potentially break into the first team young. And I got to 16, about to sign my sort of first full-time contract, and Cambridge done the same thing, shut down the system. And I just thought, maybe it's not for me. But thankfully, as a youngster, I always had kind of eyes on me a little bit, and I had a few options to go elsewhere at 16. But as soon as I knew West Ham were in the hunt, when you talk about history and tradition of bringing through footballers, Frank Lampard, Joe Cole, Rio Ferdinand, like some of the best players to ever play in the country in the Premier League. So jumped at the chance to go there and work with the incredible Tony Carr, who sort of guided all these superstars through their sort of youth into first team, where they went on to become global superstars.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. And this is good to hear from someone who's, you know, a Premier League athlete, and we have a coach here. You know, there's a lot of interest in trying to help the U.S. soccer, right, to be more competitive. And in looking at like your bio, and you essentially get into the system, if you will, the club at 10 years old, right? You kind of sign this contract. Now, I know that I had buddies that played on the Olympic development program, and they were you this and you that. You know, it's a big country. We got 400 million people. For some reason, we fall short, right, on competing on the world stage. So, like, can I hear from you, like, what is the difference in the way it is structured in Europe versus here? And Coach, please, you know, chime in as well as far as where are we missing? We being, you know, the United States.
Yeah, I must say part of the excitement for kind of me being here and laying down roots in the country is just seeing the growth even in the last 4.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at the landscape of football in the US, it's incredible now, and there's new teams popping up everywhere, new academies popping up everywhere.
They just announced Connecticut.
Yeah,
right.
It's fantastic news. So, I mean, stuff like this is great, but then working in the academy system at Atlanta, getting to see that when I first come over to DA and you go to these big events. I've just come back from Arizona where I saw Nashville's under-17s and U15s play, but just so many players, and not just so many players, so much talent out there. Now, I think the biggest challenge for the US is just finding a real good structure and what's going to work. And I think if you look at the team in the last World Cup, I think that's a team that a country can get behind. They're young, they're hungry, they're vibrant. Some incredible Pulisic, Gio Reyna, all these guys. There's some wonderful players and lots coming through there. Now it's just being consistent, I suppose, with that pipeline. And I think the biggest thing in England as a kid growing up, you look out on the streets and there's kids playing everywhere. And now there's been a big decline in that, obviously, with the PlayStations. I sound like an old man now, don't I? But all the YouTube stuff and that, there's not so much of that going on. And I think the biggest thing for the US is just having that environment for these kids available. And Huntsville is just a hotbed of incredible opportunities for these youngsters, and not just for soccer, every other sport you could wish for, but getting to know some of the coaches. I mean, my little one goes and plays over at United. She's 4. They do a great job over there. You go over to Norbert, and now he's doing a fantastic job over there. Very close with Clay over at Hampton Cove. And like, you see all these guys and putting so much effort into trying to help these guys on their journey. So in terms of seeing the growth in that from when I first come over 4.5 years ago, it's been incredible. And if you look at the World Cup coming in 2026, as I mentioned already, that US team's a young team that they've got some superstars that the country can get behind. I think it's only going to snowball and get bigger and better.
What do you think, Coach?
Yeah, I like a lot of what he said there. I think for me, I got to go over to see some of the teams. I got to go through Chelsea's locker room. It was my first one. And then I thought, wow, this is amazing. But then when I went through Arsenal's, and then I went through Manchester United's, and then I went through Manchester City's, I was like, man, Chelsea really needs to step up this locker room game that they have going on here, right? But he is right. From the moment we got off the airplane, kids, like even when we stopped at what's a traditional rest stop, there's at least 5 or 7 kids out in the rest stop grass playing with soccer balls. And I was like, I was born in the wrong country. This is where I belong. I've been playing since I was 7, and I too slept with a soccer ball at my feet. I encourage my players now to do that, and they look at me like I'm crazy, but I'm like, you become one with the ball when you sleep with the ball, everything, right? And so,
but to that point, real quick, what's the difference? Scouting is a big thing of what you all do, right? Mm-hmm. A 15-year-old in England, in the suburbs of England, and then a 15-year-old, I don't know, in Arizona. Are you seeing differences?
I think
Because you should. I'm sure you're adept enough to know right away if someone kind of has it or they don't have it, right? Just
it's the golden question, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
will he make it? There's so much that goes on between 14, 15 and 18, 19. Like it's very difficult to tell. But I think the biggest difference I noticed from coaching at West Ham's academy before I went to Atlanta and then coming to Atlanta, I was looking at the top end of the group, and I'm thinking they could quite easily go and play in West Ham's academy without doubt. It was just more how many players were probably good enough to be at that level. The bottom end of the group weren't quite as good as the top end, whereas in England there's so many players sort of ready to come through and next one up. But I would say, as I said, over the past 4 years, there's been an even more of a change to that, and seeing the consistency and quality and depth of good players within the academy systems in the US is mind-blowing. And for me, I don't see any reason why they can't go and win a World Cup in the next 20 years.
For me, I think another difference in the youth area, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the pay for play. I think we have even more talent than what we know we have in this country, but the cost for soccer has gotten outrageous. And I think if some of that was lowered, that's part of it. And I think we water it down a lot. Just even here in North Alabama, there's 5 or 6 different clubs alone in this small population. When you go over there, you have your town and you play for your town, right? And so I love that. There's one team, one fight working towards that. And there's different levels within the town, don't get me wrong, of how they compete, just like what you see in their professional level. And so I think if we could find a way to fix some of that, and I think Klinsman tried when he was here to get some of that going, and I think we're building upon it. I think a lot of these MLS Next teams are going to get to the point where they're like the academy teams, where the players don't have to pay once they get there. It's taken care of for them. So I like to see that kind of growth come along.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably one of the driving differences for me. And our parents over here want to have their children involved in soccer, piano, dance.
Safer things.
Not only that, but multiple things. They feel like they have to fill their schedule completely. There is hardly any time to go to the park and play because the rest of their schedule is so full with.
Right.
And I think at certain ages that's okay because you don't know what you're going to love if you don't get experiences of everything. But sooner or later you got to lock in and figure out what that thing is. And I don't know if that happens as much over here as it does over there. They know what they want to do from them. They're either going to do rugby, cricket, or soccer. Those are the 3 biggest ones over there.
Yeah,
right?
massive. But I think the big thing now as well, you look at the MLS and the growth and quality of that now. You've just got to look at Miami and Messi.
Yeah.
How can these kids not fall in love and find that passion just by watching a game with Messi playing? And most teams have got superstars now. Obviously, Mukhtar over at Nashville was just a joy to watch. You go and watch him play live in the flesh. You come away and you're mind blown.
Yeah.
And I think the quality and people always ask me about sort of obviously the relegation promotion stuff and how the rosters are built, etc., etc. I think it's great for the league in a sense that it's so even. You look at a weekend, it's not going to be like a Man City against a Sheffield United where you pretty much know what's going to happen. You watch these MLS games and they're 9 times out of 10 really even. Both teams will fancy their chances home and away, and I think that brings a real excitement factor to it as well.
I used to do my own live streaming and focus first on American football and then basketball and stuff. And I would interview the coaches, and at times you'd ask that question like, "Hey, it's kind of part coach hat, part a parent of a child. Do you encourage them to just stick if once they decide, hey, I want to play soccer? Do you just give every 24/7 to that, or do you mix it up?" And every one of them, I don't know if they were just saying the politically correct thing or trying to appeal to parents like, oh, they should have balance in their life, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is, typically, you're not going to make it to the Premier League or the NFL or the NBA unless that is your thing. Yeah. And so but as a parent, it's a tough thing, right? You don't want to burn your kid out because I've seen kids and it doesn't go well. It gets ugly at times when they devote so much time and attention to one thing. But then on the flip side, what Michael Phelps said, I swim every day of the year. Okay, and you won a bunch of Olympic medals. I guess that's what happens. But what are your thoughts on that? And has your thought process changed as you've gotten older? And
yeah, certainly having kids, gives you that greater perspective, I think. And there's a big debate, especially back in England at the moment, about early professionalisation, because these academy kids at 5, 6 years old, they're in with all the top clubs. A 6-year-old might train with Arsenal one day, West Ham one day,
Wow.
Chelsea another day, Tottenham another day, and then at 8, 9 years old, they have to make a decision which team they'll join. So from 9 to 16, a lot of the time they're in this academy system. They're probably training 4 times a week, playing games on a weekend, doing tours in the summer, which is great because obviously they're getting a lot of experiences from it. They're learning life lessons. But if at 16 you don't make the mark, or if at 18 you don't make the mark, it's kind of all you've known your entire life. And then quite often you'll find them stuck. Right, what am I going to do now? They're so... Football's been their life growing up, so I've always been one to encourage them to have interests outside of football or soccer, and always been one to encourage, especially the younger kids, to try other sports and do other sports and have fun. And even now, when we get opportunities for a weekend off, encouraging the guys to go and spend time with their friends and their family, because you can get so wrapped up in trying to do more than anyone else, or trying to find that extra percentage, which I was very like as a player, and it is probably a reason why I did make the grade. But at the same time, I missed my prom, I missed weddings. I used to play a bit of cricket in the summer, but I think I would have been quite good at that as well. But so I suppose there's never the right answer to find that balance, because if they're not training, they're missing out and they're falling behind other kids and other children, etc. But at the same time, at 16, 18, I'm probably a great example. At 23, you get a big injury, then it's like... What's next? What are we going to do next? Have you got any other life experience? So I think clubs are aware of it. I know a lot of clubs, certainly at the younger ages, are doing multi-sports now. Or at Atlanta, they used to bring in a local rugby team once a night, or they'll go rock climbing, and things like that are great, just to try and give them other experiences and to, I suppose, try and create a more well-rounded person. And it's even what we're trying to do now. When they leave Huntsville, not only do we want them to enjoy the experience and hopefully improve slightly as players, but just having a bit of experience as well and coming away as a well-rounded person.
Yeah. I want to ask you a couple questions, fun questions, before we run out of time. I want to make sure I get to them. Okay. I know you said that you got to go to the Masters on the Sunday, right?
Oh, it was incredible. And Tiger made the cut as well a couple of years ago. He made the cut. He was useless on the final round, but made the cut. Yeah.
So who did you follow him?
We followed him for about 6 holes, and then had a couple of drinks and decided to plot up on the par 3.
16.
Yeah, par 3 16th, near the water. But obviously, I grew up watching the Masters, and the Masters and the Ryder Cup for me are the most iconic. And
sure.
I always thought, you know what, I'd love to go, and managed to land on a couple of tickets for the Sunday, and it just blew my mind, just seeing the quality of the golf, but also the quality of the environment, and just that, I suppose, that feelings and the emotion around every putt, every shot, and what's riding on it. As someone who grew up loving sports, it was just great to see it live.
And to get to hear the conversations when you go hole to hole. I got to see one in Colorado when they came out there to play, and following some of them from hole to hole, you get to see the things that you don't see on camera. Kind of like when I got to go watch Messi play this year when they played Nashville. When the camera's not on him, to watch him be the orchestrator, to tell his player, hey, just move up here a little bit. So he's setting the pieces in place, so when the ball arrives, he already knows where he's got his pieces, right? So to get to watch them and how they're talking through the process, walking from the tee box to where their first strike was, that was also eye-opening for me, just to get to see and hear some of that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Do you remember Augusta National pretty well? Like, do you know all the holes?
Not really.
Okay.
I just walked around and
so
enjoyed it.
Here's my first. Actually, I'm going to ask you a bunch of fun questions, and
Uh-oh.
I'll get to this one.
Uh-oh.
These are just fun ones, like snowboarding or skiing.
Neither. I got bad knees, but
Okay.
I would love to have a go at snowboarding.
Yeah, good. That's a good answer. Otherwise, I'd throw you out. Favorite color?
Green.
Green. Favorite actor?
Oh, good question. There's a couple I like. Probably Will Ferrell.
Really?
Yeah, I love him.
I'm really into the BBC. Like, it's probably started with Downton Abbey, and I love like Colin. What's his name? The older guy, not Colin. Colin Firth.
Colin Farrell.
No.
Oh, Colin Firth.
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's such a good actor. I'm on to like Colin Firth movies right
I
now.
love it.
Favorite TV show?
I'll be honest. Other than football, I just tend to be watching murder documentaries at the moment. So it's a bit dark in the Collison household.
All right.
I love. I tell you what, I really enjoyed Ted Lasso. It's almost the
Yes.
reverse Ted
Yes.
Lasso here. So
Okay.
big shout out to Ted Lasso.
If you could caddy for any of the professional golfers, who would it be?
It would have to be Tiger, wouldn't
Tiger.
it? Just so iconic, and to see him in the red on the Sunday, it would just be incredible experience.
I saw him a few times in life, but the first time I saw him was the 2000 President's Cup, and that was the time that Vijay Singh did like the Tiger Who, but he was in his prime.
Yeah.
It was so cool to see in his prime. Okay, a transatlantic flight, you do that a lot to go back to your home
not
country?
so much recent. I'm waiting on my green card at the moment, so
Okay.
I can't leave the country. But yeah.
But when you do, talk me through, how do you pass the time on that 5-6 hour flight over to Heathrow?
Well, I mean, it used to be great. I used to sit down, read a bit of a book, watch a couple of movies, and
Get the kids.
now I've got two annoying kids who want snacks or want to go to the toilet, or iPad's not working. So a little bit more stressful since the kids, but no, I quite enjoy flying. It's a bit peaceful, isn't it, sometimes?
If they could host the Premier League final in any of the stadiums in the U.S., where would you want to see that played?
That's a great question.
I know the NFL. I've been over in London before when they're there at Wembley and stuff, and that's cool. But like, if they were to play the best of the best,
I mean, look, I've got to be a little bit biased. Obviously, Giadis has got to get a little shout out, hasn't it? Great
Yes.
football experience,
Yes.
wonderful stadium, but I think we'd need a few more fans. I would love to see the Mercedes-Benz packed out with a grass pitch down there.
okay.
I think it'd be incredible.
All right, here's the hypothetical. So hole number 2 at Augusta National is a par 5.
Yeah.
Louis Oosthuizen, that's about 10 years ago now, makes a double eagle on that hole. Picks the ball out of double eagle, right? Hole in 2 on par 5. Throws it into the crowd. He doesn't realize that was all the other par 5s had been double eagled in Masters competition at some point in history. They needed that ball to complete the museum. The Masters.
No.
So some lucky fan catches it. And then a good old member in a green jacket comes over, puts their arm around that person, and was like, "You're not leaving here until we get that ball." What would be your conditions on, okay, you want this ball? What are you going to give me? Walk me through, knowing that you hold the last piece to the museum.
Great question. I want something that's going to last a while. So I reckon four tickets for life.
Okay.
4 tickets to life would be a good start. I'd like to go mingle in one of them posh tents, maybe, you know what I mean? Be around the players and their families and their wives, and spend a bit of time there. And then maybe a couple of lessons off one of the pros. Obviously, Tiger, he's getting a bit old now, so maybe someone like Rory.
Yeah.
Get behind Rory a lot. Maybe.
Victor Hovland.
Yeah, and a practice round chucked in as well. It'd be great to tear that up, because I do put a few divots around when I play. So it'd be great, wouldn't it?
I would say you ask for at least 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah, one a year would be good, wouldn't it? Maybe get out for the par 3 competition. That's always good fun,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Okay, I got one more hypothetical. I know you said you used to listen to R&B. You kind of get into country music now that you're here.
I'm trying my best.
I asked some of my guests this question. So you've been downtown. You know the Probst Arena, right, where the Havoc play. Let's pretend that there's that road that's always under construction. It seems like, but
Yeah.
there's this road that, let's just pretend you're kind of the only car that's allowed in there, and you're just slow rolling it. A concert's just let out. It's like May. It's beautiful weather, and you have the windows down, and you want everyone to hear the song that you're playing and you're singing to as you kind of drive through. And it could be your besties in the car,
Yeah.
or just you. But what are you just singing to your heart's content?
Great question. Do you know what? Look, I grew up on R&B. I love a bit of everything, but I'm going to go a bit controversial. Maybe with some Queen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, pump it loud. It sounds great loud. Few people around might join in.
We Are the Champions, or
Yeah, Don't Stop Me Now is my get hype song sometimes before the game, so I enjoy that. But I must say, before I get off, big shout out to the Havoc, by the way. I went on Saturday night, and wow, what a game.
I was there too for the overtime.
Oh, it was incredible.
Yeah.
First penalty shootout I've seen in the hockey, so it's great. And we've actually spent a bit of time with the guys down there. So obviously Tyler and Stu are doing a great job this year, and I've actually asked Glenn to mentor me this year as well. So obviously great coach, a lot of experience, had a lot of success. So we've spent a lot of time together over the last couple of months, sort of going through some bits as well.
Where were you sitting?
I was behind the guy in the corner in the second row. Glenn was actually sat with us for the game, so it was
really?
great. Yeah.
My daughter and I, we use Freak Daddy, right? He's the guy that goes on the ice. He's been on the show before.
Brilliant.
His name's Clay. My kids go to Clemens, and his son's a big wrestler and stuff. So he has these 2 seats down on the ice, right?
Oh, amazing.
And my daughter and I, she's 22. We're sitting there, and the puck goes out of play a lot, but usually I just think, okay, it hits the net, flies into the crowd, and this puck like comes down and lands like at her feet, and I'm like in disbelief. Like, I've never seen this. I've never caught a foul ball in baseball. Like, I'm like, what is this? Because there's all these people down there who bang on the glass with their pucks. I just figured one of their pucks got loose, and the guy's like, pick it up. And it's cold. It's got ice on it. We got a puck.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It just came like Plinko. It just kind of came down through the glass.
Oh, that's
so
brilliant.
we got a
them guys were incredible on the weekend. I was super pumped after the game. So no, it was good to see.
Well, you guys are the same. It's great in a city where you see there's the hockey fans, there's the baseball fans. Now we have the football fans. And maybe there's some crossover, but then there's also just the dedicated. No. I'm an HCSC fan. I've been dying for this, and so it's created so much. I've only been here 2 years, but I just love all the new things coming online. To be here at the time of the inaugural season, it's cool stuff. Coach Parker, any final thoughts here as we probably need to wrap up?
Yeah. So on that piece, though, we got to figure out how the soccer balls get to stay in the stands when those come up there, because I actually caught 2 this year when they came flying up to my seat section. But
he's just gonna say buy him for him,
right?
Probably have Jacob chasing you around trying to get them back. They're expensive, them.
Yes, they are. Okay, so there were some rule changes that were experimented with in the game this year, and so I wondered if you talk us through, especially for as long as you've been playing. A lot of things. A lot of fans don't like how long players lay on the ground. It takes away from how much the ball is actually in play and stuff. But I kind of like some of the things that happen. But walk us through, I think the 2 biggest ones would be that fans would recognize was that and the no ties, how the tie system now works out.
It was interesting. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about penalties after a game, especially going through everything. And Crown Legacy away, first game of the season, we're 2-1 up, and they score last kick of the game. And first penalty shootout, and we win. And it was just a roller coaster of emotions. And when we talk about trying to build players for the future and trying to create high pressure moments, what a great experience for these young lads to have to step up in front of a big crowd after being up, getting pegged back. And the penalties have been great this year, so I've enjoyed that. And I must say the other bits they've added in are always interesting to look at when you see them on paper, like the subs coming off at 10 seconds. But it's been great because these players can't mess around, they can't time waste, and obviously the other one, if they do fake an injury, we had it 3 minutes timeout basically in our league, and I think the West had a 2-minute timeout, and I believe they're bringing that into the MLS next year. The 2-minute timeout, is it, if they're rolling about,
unless they're going to get subs for, right?
Yeah, so
yes, I think that'll help the game a lot to keep moving.
No, to be honest, I think it's a great initiative from the MLS because obviously they get to try some stuff out, and we're very open to obviously trying to help that and create an incredible product at the top level. That's what we want to be part of. And as I said, the games are fun and exciting, so any way we can help, we've enjoyed it.
The fans really enjoy it too, because before, when it was a tie and you're like, well, do I want to beat the crowd getting out of the stadium? And now you're like, oh, it's going to end in a tie. We're going to get to see a PK shootout, right? So you get that excitement from the players or the fans out there, especially the player fans, to get to want to stay and watch that. And I thought that brought a lot of excitement. And you're fighting for a point. I mean, that one extra point off of the tie, if you win it, is a big deal.
Yeah,
right?
come the end of the season, it could be the difference between playoffs and not. So we've had a big focus, and even little things pre-season, we practice with crowd noise over at the training facility. We built in a couple of practice penalty shootouts within our pre-season games. So we'll do the same this year, and we'll take it serious. And 3 or 4 extra points at the end of the year could be the difference between hopefully a home tie in the playoffs or making the playoffs. So it's been really good fun.
You got any final thoughts, Coach?
No, thanks for having me. I always enjoy talking with good people who've got different experiences, and I just think for me, really excited for next season. As I said, we've done a lot of hard work in the off season. People probably think we just sit there at home, but the amount of hours we put into scouting and recruitment, and not just players but staff as well. So hopefully all them lessons we learnt last year we'll be able to iron out, and hopefully we can put a team into that beautiful stadium that really represents the city well, vibrant, energetic, risk takers, who hopefully win a few more games as well.
Yeah, you won't have. I mean, it's rare to have 7 road games, right? Away games. That's not going to happen. So
yeah, no, I've seen a couple of pre-schedules, but they keep chopping and changing. So hopefully we'll get an idea of how our season looks next year, and then I think that excitement really builds then, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Hey, really appreciate your time. I know you. It's January, but things are cooking, right? I mean, it's not long before you're going to be in preseason training and such, right?
Yeah, the boys are back in town for testing towards the end of the month, and we've got some really good home games actually. The Blast Off Battle, we've got a little mini tournament which will be good on the Friday and the Sunday, playing some USL opposition, so people can come down and get first eyes on the new crop of players, which I think will be fantastic. I mean, when we played Cincinnati at the training ground last year, I think we had 800 fans, 1,000 fans. So something similar like that would be good, and hopefully it would just build and snowball. And as I said, we want to put a team out there who everyone can be really proud of.
Bob Jones is playing on that Saturday as well versus Grissom, and we've got some really good games lined up on the Saturday in between. So we'll be out there on Friday and Sunday to support those, and look forward to seeing some of the players support us back on Saturday. We're excited for that. The boys are.
I'd love to have you back if you're willing at some point here in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Let's catch up after we've played a few games and see where we're at and see how we've started the year. It would be brilliant.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, you all, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And all best this season.
Thank you.